Call the meeting to order. We'll start with a roll call. We have Bridget Powers, Chris Buckley, Bill Bolton, myself, Rebecca Hansen, and Brian Murphy. We will start with a review of the meeting minutes from October 19th. Any comments or adjustments or edits for those minutes?
Just looking.
Greg, is your name one word, lowercase s? What's that?
Yeah, it's just one word.
Lowercase s?
Uppercase.
Uppercase s. So we can edit Greg's last name as mentioned.
And I made a motion to adjourn. Could that be accurate?
I think we're forced into it, Chris.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes with that correction.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved with that edit. Next up, any public comments unrelated to tonight's agenda? Seeing none, we will move on to administrative matters. A boundary line adjustment between PID number 227-008 and PID number 227-009.
That's much clearer.
Kevin French, I'm representing the potatoes on this boundary line adjustment. And first thing I want to do is thank you guys for having this meeting. And in between, we do appreciate it. And well, I guess I'm still gonna fight with this easel, but anyway, that's this thing. At the present time, the Cato's own two lots off of Stinson Road and Pike Hill Road. They have a 54-acre lot on woodlot on Pike Hill Road, and they have a 34-acre lot that fronts on Stinson Road. At this time, all they really want to do, this is the existing boundary line between the two lots, and they just want to add how many acres? They want to add 15.73 acres of this lot to the back lot. So basically, all they're doing is moving this boundary line from here to here. And this lot will now be
69.7.
69.7 acres instead of the 54. And that's really it.
Any questions from the board?
A comment, Madam Chair. I'd reviewed the application and all of the checkboxes were complete or not applicable.
Any other questions? Would anyone like to make a motion to accept this application as complete?
So moved.
I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, so this application is complete. So at this point, we will open up the public hearing at 6:36. I can't remember if I'm supposed to hit the gavel, but I will. Any comments from the public? Please come up to the podium and state your name.
I'm Dan Keniston, and the only reason I came tonight, my brother Sam Place had got a notice on this because he and my sister own 2 lots that I think butt against this, maybe.
Over here, you're on.
Oh, so we're on the opposite side of the road.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
see, I didn't know that,
Okay. Yeah.
and he wanted me to come down because he couldn't come tonight, and so we just wanted to know what was going on. I guess you've answered my question, so we're all set.
Also, it's on the back side of the lot, too.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Up here, too.
Okay, okay, yep. Okay. Yeah, they actually have 2 or 3 lots over there.
Yeah, it looks like,
Yeah.
yeah, 4 lots. Does that change your comment if the, or do you need to comment further? There is an abutting lot not that is on the same side of the road.
They aren't on the same side of the road now.
There is one lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sam and William own the lots, it's 26 acres.
Right,
It's on the same side of the road.
right, yeah,
And the other 3 lots are on the opposite
Right.
side of the road.
yeah.
Any other public comments?
These border up against that 26 acres that Sam and William have?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're on this, they're on the south of this, and then the others are across Pike Hill Road.
Okay, it is, if there are no other comments from the public, I will close the public hearing at 6:38 and bring it back to the board. Any other comments, questions from the board?
It's kind of totally unrelated, but is the cemetery nearby here?
What's that?
There's a cemetery that's, a municipal cemetery that's,
There's
is it way beyond? You know, or is it like down here?
a cemetery down, let's see, I'm trying to think,
It's on Pike Hill.
Pike Hill.
Yeah.
It's on the other end of Pike Hill.
Where is
It could be
that?
at the other end. It's probably like mid of it.
It's at the top.
Down here then?
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, okay, okay.
maybe a half mile past that property.
Yeah, okay. I haven't found that cemetery yet.
It's nice, it's old, Civil War.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Would anyone like to make a motion about approving or not approving this application?
I would move to approve the application.
A second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All right, so we have approved this boundary line adjustment. Thank you. I almost just used the gavel again. It's getting to my head a little bit. Maybe put it out of reach.
Thanks, Kevin. Really?
It's been a chronic,
You ever heard of tape?
Yeah, if I wasn't so cheap, I'd get my own.
Right.
but that's been a
Kevin,
chronic,
would you like a signed copy of a plat?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
so Brian, that's been a chronic problem for the past, what, 4 years since it's been on the board? So,
Yeah.
why can't we get a new board? Because everyone has a problem with trying to.
Careful how you phrase that.
Waiting the board out. Waiting the board. So,
We have some old-fashioned easels that just are good for, you'd put a poster board on it, and then Kevin could have used his clamps.
yeah, we have a lot of people trying to stuff a piece of paper up there.
Yeah,
It's
that
just-
one is more for, it's a whiteboard. It's not really an easel.
Well, maybe we can,
I'll work on it tomorrow, sir.
okay. You can take it out of the select board budget.
Don't do it yet, I want to take a couple more cracks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Okay, next up on the agenda is the continuing discussion of the master plan. Greg, would you like to join us at the table? Thanks for coming in. Would you like some candy?
Chocolate and mints.
So we had heard that you had a few questions that we felt maybe they would just be better if it was addressed in person, so.
Sure. So I'll start with, has the planning board worked out a timeline for finalizing the master plan and holding a public hearing? And how far in advance of finalizing it would you hold the public hearing?
All right. I think we can build a timeline.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I've gone through this process. I would, I'm not sure, were you around? You weren't
No, I was
around.
around
No.
first, but,
So we can work on a timeline and hopefully figure out what makes the most sense and what seems reasonable. But it seems like we'll probably need a couple more months. But I think we've talked about your contract or the contract with North Country Council that expires at the end of the year, right? Okay.
Yep.
So,
And I think if Steve Whitman was here, he could probably, answer your question certainly better than I could. But the other part of that was the volunteers to update the chapters. And I'm happy to do that. It's just, I need a little direction and we have to set up a time, but, kind of ready to go.
I think it might make sense for us to try and wrap up this portion of it first and then perhaps hit the additional chapters as part of our regular work session. I've seen other towns that have worked on chapter by chapter updates and done it a lot more internally. So I think it might be better to wrap up this process first. I don't know what you guys think. Instead of dragging the whole thing on further.
agree.
And I guess I was thinking, were we going to do something with volunteers to even finalize the
Yes.
part that Greg is? So, and that would be the other thing, that whatever needs to be done.
Yep. So it seems like, I believe we agreed at the last meeting that we are probably not going to extend the contract. Is that what I'm understanding? So I think that our public hearing, I think we just need to set a goal, but does that matter on your end if it's going to be after after we've ended the contract?
Right. It actually kind of does, because if you're planning to update the other chapters, on a later basis and, do this update as just the stuff NCC is working on, then you would, want to hold a public hearing on the updated stuff that NCC is working on. Because do I understand you correctly that you're gonna basically just focus on the land use, economic, and transportation and vision chapters in this go-around, and then later you'll work on the other chapters? Because other towns have done that. I
Yeah.
think that's,
Was that the original intention of this contract, or were we supposed to be updating everything else as part of this process? I mean, it doesn't matter now because it's
I wasn't involved. I
Yeah, I
can't
think
answer that
it's
question.
the whole process.
So we were supposed to be doing this whole time.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I mean, at this point, it doesn't matter because we obviously haven't updated any of those things.
Right.
So I think it makes the most sense to wrap up this section, bring it to a public hearing, and then adopt it, and then start working on chapter by chapter.
So does that mean a public hearing before the end of the year? Or,
I guess that's my question is, we have to have a public hearing before the end of the, yeah, exactly what Bill said.
If it's after the end of the year, it's, not, it's in the contract.
To do the
But
public hearing.
It is in the contract for NCC to help with the public hearing, so that, puts us all in a weird spot, but
Well, that's the question that I always had.
the question is, how weird is it for you guys?
Well, I mean, is the contract calendric or is it goal-oriented? I kind of got mixed messages on both.
Yeah.
And now it seems that it's calendric.
Sorry, I don't know what calendric means.
Based on the calendar, based on
Okay.
the amount of time
Right,
versus delivered product.
okay.
So.
And
I-
that's what Steve was suggesting at the last public hearing, so if we could just clarify that, the contract is for NCC to carry it as far as they can through December 31st, and I'll help out at the public hearing if it's after December 31st, but, like I said, it is, putting everyone in a weird spot for it to be after that.
Okay.
If you guys are okay with doing it though, that way, I would be.
Okay,
I mean, realistically, I just don't see us getting a product that's ready
Yeah.
to go by the end of,
right,
yeah,
you know,
completed
next
product.
week is pretty much what we'd need.
Right.
yes.
And the idea of trying to get a public hearing, it seems a little sneaky trying to do it in December as well.
I
So,
agree.
so I would prefer to push it back. And I guess I'm not sure what happens at a public hearing for a master plan, if it's more just a present, or just here it is and tell us what you think, or do we do some presentation regarding the content of the master plan?
Yeah, all the plans and, all the public hearings I've done for plans, there's a presentation.
Okay. All right.
Is there a pre-release though? They must have.
Oh,
be able to
absolutely,
review
yeah,
everything,
you
so-
want to put a draft up, online and make it available to the public
Right.
ahead of time.
Need thousands of copies.
No. PDFs.
So now, I guess, seeing that, it seems like we're clear that we're gonna do it, I mean, I would think in like January or February would probably be my goal, if we could do it by then. I know we're getting kind of clogged up in some of the, if we have any zoning ordinance updates. Although it's sort of, unless we have, any petitions to have any zoning ordinance changes, I suggest maybe we focus our efforts on finishing the master plan instead of working hard to update any zoning stuff like we had talked about a month or so ago.
Do we have any, or,
There were a few ideas that were bandied around that were mostly not urgent, just more housekeeping measures. And certainly, there's nothing that came through the legislature that required emergency action like it did last year with the accessory dwelling units. So, unless something comes out of the BOS or up from the public, I'm kind of with Rebecca on that maybe we ought to forego it in favor of working on the master plan.
And what needs to be done? Like, we've gone over this, the stuff with Greg that he just listed several times. So is it just a matter of, like proofreading one more time, making sure, like what do we need to do?
So what NCC is doing is getting you the land use, economic, and vision chapters also ahead of the another meeting for you guys to review.
Okay.
We're shooting for November 9th.
Would they be more in master plan form or more in data point form?
More master plan form, but then we would obviously do a lot of formatting after that.
Yeah.
Well,
I was
some
just thinking of
formatting.
plugging in the new stuff, you could almost take the old one and update, you know, a lot of the figures in it, you know, if it was just data entry.
And that's what a lot of it is, and there is a lot of time that goes into the data entry on those particular chapters, which is why NCC
Yeah.
is doing it. So it is gonna look, you know, similar to the last master plan.
Oh, okay, good.
And I think something we had mentioned last meeting was Steve sent around a bunch of other master plans for us to look at that he's worked on, to just get an idea of different formats, different presentations. So I think we were going to discuss at the next meeting, after we saw what we had gotten from you guys,
Okay.
to then look at formatting, and before you guys went into too much trouble getting all the formatting perfectly, if there's
Yeah.
something that we want to do, and I don't know if anyone's had a chance to look over some of those master plans. I looked at them briefly today, and they're definitely quite a bit more engaging than what we've got. I mean, shocker, right? It doesn't take much, and no offense to whatever you're producing, but just it's something that's a little more engaging. They have titles instead of just Plymouth Master Plan. They've got something that I think is slightly more intriguing. So, I mean, from my opinion is we don't need to go crazy with the infographics, but I think it might be nice to have something that's a little more colorful and vibrant than just the standard master plan.
Yeah, and we would, you know, like for, you know, you guys to send us those examples along with your thoughts, because that's what we're doing after we run the revised chapters by you, is we're gonna put it into a format, and we'll obviously try to do as much of that as we can before we get it to you at the next meeting. But like you said, you guys will have thoughts on the formatting, so we're not gonna go too crazy on the formatting, just to have it changed.
So do we have a homework assignment? We should look at those
Yes.
sample, look at those sample master plans. Should we read through the advanced drafts we have, like this one was the last one you gave us? Should we read through those again?
So assuming we're going to get your drafts on the 9th, and that will be pretty much all the material you have to date, is that correct? With a delay, I remember you said something about something might be a little later.
June for the 9th, what I might have said last time was that the vision chapter is our lowest priority,
Okay.
because it's, we wanted to get the other stuff to you
Okay.
earlier.
So with that stuff circulates on the 9th, our next meeting is the 16th, is that right?
Yes.
So that gives us a week to review the material. So when you send that out, I can send out a reminder email to just of what our assignments are, is to review that stuff. And Brian, you said you'd make some of that available for us to pick up a hard copy.
Yes, yes. Anything delivered to me that needs distribution non-electronically, we'll take care of all the copying.
Okay,
Just gotta
awesome.
tell me.
I have a hard time reading stuff
Yeah.
digitally.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I'd say in the meantime, reviewing the master plans that Steve sent around. And, cause they're certainly a little more, I feel really old saying this, really jazzy, a lot more jazzy than your standard master plan, which I think is where a lot of master plans are going, sort of, as we move into the future, so.
Well, it's a lot of content.
It sure is. They're very long.
Yes.
There's a few that are just a couple brief updates, but there's definitely some
Yeah.
100-pagers in there, so, yeah.
And I think there was a question about whether to have the tables and maps inserted with the text or as appendices in the back.
Yeah, for now, in the transportation chapter, for now, we'll probably just leave the maps in the back until I hear from you guys, some solid examples of what you like,
Yeah.
on map-heavy chapters, so that we can then, format it that way.
Yeah, sometimes a table is worth 1,000 words in the right spot, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can always refer back to the big data in the back.
Do you have any examples, Greg, of master plans the North Country Council has worked on recently that are sort of different than what the standard, what the old Plymouth one looks like?
Plymouth one's pretty similar to a lot of the others, with a few, formatting changes. And there was one more item in the recommendation chapter I wanted to talk about, the language regarding wetlands and stream protection. protections. I don't know if you guys have given much thought to it, but I do have a slightly updated implementation table. Formatting is still not great, but the content reflects what we talked about last time.
Thank you.
So that is still this, it's just a new draft.
Yeah, you had some comments on the,
Okay.
on some of the recommendations, and I, edited them to reflect that. So it's on page 30, the environmentally sensitive zone and similar overlay for protecting wetlands. Last meeting I was
We're
at.
supposed to do that.
Yeah, you said you would work on the language. You had thrown out something along the lines of investigate and support ordinances that protect wetlands and streams. And it talked about whether or not to merge recommendations 14 and 15.
Kind of feel like we said something like merge them, but have it say continue to support the environmentally sensitive zone and investigate and support ordinances that protect streams and wetlands. Does that sound familiar to anybody?
Yeah. If it doesn't sound familiar, it sounds good.
Sounds good to me.
Chris, as our Conservation Commission representative, does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I had jumped the gun and said, because I thought we were, when we left the last meeting, we talked about doing this. So it was in my mind just to send something, so that's why I sent that thing out, which I wasn't, and I apologize
That's
for
all
that.
right.
But,
Nobody replied, so no foul.
yeah, thanks to you jumping in there. But, I kind of liked the language in there, but I think we need to look at it again, and it just because of all that, I totally just dropped it, but I wish I had brought that in.
I might be able to find it.
Maybe we
Maybe.
could introduce that in an actual meeting where it should have been introduced.
Yeah, and I think what I was trying to say, and I'm not sure if I articulated clearly, I think it's trying to figure out what the intent is of what we're trying to do and not try and change the environmentally sensitive zone to fit that, but to try and to get the purpose of what we're doing and articulate that as a potential zoning change. So I think just the phrase environmentally sensitive zone is a trigger for some people, so trying to avoid that. And, trying to avoid that I think might be more productive if we're trying to achieve certain types of protection.
I mean, certainly, at number 15, you could combine those two bullets to developing an overlay zone to protect wetlands by investigating and supporting ordinance to protect them. And it's not contradictory to any of the other.
Kind of
It's
like
more like an adjunct.
what Rebecca first initially indicated, like continue to support the environmentally sensitive zone and investigate and support ordinances that protect streams and wetlands. Doesn't sound controversial nor exclusionary to what we'd like to do in the future, so.
By investigate and support, are these, would that mean be open to new ordinances?
Yeah,
So maybe that would protect, or? When I read that, it almost sounds like those ordinances already exist, and it would be new ordinances that,
Or
Okay.
how about develop instead of support?
Yeah.
or investigate, develop, and support.
Yeah, there you go.
yeah.
Sounds great.
That was a,
Sounds like home.
Aside from that change, is there anything else going to be changing between now and when you get those other chapters to us in this document?
No.
So I'll keep it.
Great. Yeah, there was, I did have a few questions for Ryan regarding data for
Right.
just verifying data that's in the transportation chapter, so some of that might change,
Okay,
not, substantially, but just the data.
yep.
And you asked us to look at some maps in here.
Right, yeah, that could be, you too, but it was mostly Brian
Yeah,
and the town
because-
administration and highway department, whoever could verify that
Yeah,
the
it's-
data is correct in the maps.
Yeah, it's what,
Isn't that's paved, isn't it Morse Road now?
yes,
That's not, so.
Was that recent?
a
think-
couple of years ago, 3, 4,
Okay.
5.
All the way through?
Yeah, from Bell to Route 3.
And I think I didn't ask you anything about sidewalks, because I was gonna go around and just verify that in the field. So.
Okay.
Small area, but yeah, the paved versus unpaved, that's a lot of driving for me to.
Yeah, I'll get this
Verify.
stuff to you. I'll work on it tomorrow.
Now, is this an old document? Is this your study or what?
That's from
2014, must have been, well, I mean, the dates.
so that I think is the original draft
study.
transportation chapter that NCC sent to DOT back in March or April.
Really? Okay. It's got sidewalks and such.
Yeah.
Because the mileage has changed, but I guess that's because the mileage has changed.
So yeah, the mileage tables might change if I hear from you that the classification of some roads is not correct as it's
Right.
presented in the maps. I feel like the maps are the best way to
Mm-hmm.
just verify data.
Yeah, if I got a free minute, I could do this in about 20 minutes. But I will get it to you by tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, that'd be great. And would building permit data be a lot for you to get to us? It would help us with the land use chapter to just discuss trends.
Okay, and what are you, I have it on an
Looking
Excel
for new-
spreadsheet.
Yeah, we're looking for new construction,
Okay.
and if there's any square footage and year data attached to it,
I have it by year and I have it by type, but I don't have square footage for the most part.
that's fine. That would help us just discuss changes in land use.
How far back do you want to go?
What's up?
How far back do we want to go on
At least to the last master plan, 2008.
that? Okay.
But even longer, like 1998 would.
I don't have it in
No,
that form.
okay,
I'm
2008
only
would be-
responsible for what I had developed, so.
Right, 2008 would be fine.
Okay. And mostly in new construction.
Right.
I can do that by year if you'd like.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And all the rest of your bullets are roads.
Yeah. Everything from land use chapter down looks like it's me.
Need anything else from us?
All set. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Okay, so next up, new business.
Yes, I received a letter of interest after a phone call last night from Jack Scarborough, former member of the board. As I said earlier, he had pulled away for health reasons. He's a new man, and I saw him today, and he certainly was. And he knows that we have vacancies, and he would like to be considered for membership. So, even though you can't say yes or no, I will be presenting the letter to the Board of Selectmen at their next meeting.
Okay. New business?
Yes, any new business?
I think we ought to purchase a new
Easel?
clipboard. Yeah, new easel for,
Do we need to take a vote on this?
well, it depends upon,
Got to get a budget
Yeah, that's
first.
exactly it. $15,000 for a easel?
Although I will miss watching people flip.
Yes, well, we can always keep it.
It's quite
Just for
entertaining.
Kevin. But there, like I said, there are other, just the regular A-frame easels that are made for setting up, like poster boards. So if we put one of those on there,
Binder clips.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
work fine. I mean, part of the problem here is that was bigger than the width of the drawing, so you couldn't get it over with the client.
Good.
So maybe we could bring our request to the select board.
Yeah, I don't know. We've got issues with budgets this year.
All they say is no.
So that call that just came in, I just assume it's someone else concerned about their tax bill. I've had a few of those, so
Yeah, I got several.
never mind.
Walking around.
What's your phone number?
I don't know.
Yeah, as long as we're recording, let's get it out there,
Yeah.
Bill.
All right, so any other new business aside from a new easel? Any unfinished or other business? We'll make sure to add the easel to that next meeting.
Oh, be sure and buy some new tabs because we just placed the order for the land use law books.
Okay.
So that'll, whenever they get out, probably the beginning of the year.
Exciting. Any public comments?
Yes. I would like to offer a thought about rewriting this new master plan, and the next step for the other sections is to maybe concentrate on the intent and purpose, so that the citizens who might be reading it would get a better understanding of the process of why we have zoning, land use planning, and master plans. I mean, more defined by why we have the different zone systems we have. And I think the other thing is that things are changing. Back when this was, our zoning ordinance went into effect in '61, we separated a lot of specific activities. So we had a single-family residential, we had manufacturing, agricultural. Now, I think the trend is heading where everybody wants to live and work and do everything all in one area within walking distance. So the new millennial group is seeing the town as one zone versus 7. But it seems that what we have is a 7-zone system. I think what a lot of people don't have is that capability of articulating why do we have the 7 zones and what is unique and what is the intent and purpose of the elements that would restrict single-family residentials versus multifamily residential. And this might help the conversation with the citizens to understand the whole process of land use review and make possibly the reading of the master plan something more than just the 100 or 200 copies we make that some of us really get interested in and others don't know exist. So it seems like all your work is the best kept secret.
Do you mean like when we present at a public meeting?
Right, that would,
To kind of
yes,
give a little
correct.
background
Yes.
information. What's in the vision statement? Does it have, would that have, I mean, it wouldn't have like probably zoning information, but it does sort of present the rationale behind the master plan, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's really going to be based heavily on the survey results, but also we are going to discuss, the master plan process, why it's important, what its purpose is. But that's a really good point to discuss why the zones were made originally and what their intent is, and not being in Plymouth when those were written. If the board could help with some of that language, that would be great.
Because the 6 items that we actually do zoning for is sight, sound, smell, ground vibration, groundwater quality, and safety. That's what all the zoning ordinances are written towards. Unfortunately, we haven't had a discussion on the nomenclature of each one of those subjects. So that's the part we need to discuss. So if you get into sight, where we use lot setbacks, height limitations, landscaping, these are all elements that mitigate or reduce the impact of a visual element that we're trying to soften that impact. Sound, we have our people want to live in a quiet zone in a single-family residential. We have a 75 decibel level, but a lot of people don't know what a decibel is. Smell,
A
obviously.
little point after the zeros, right?
So smell, we have good, bad, and ugly smells, and of course, there's a lot of stuff that's in Selectmen's RSA that they have the responsibility to ensure we don't have something that has a ugly smell. Ground vibration, which a lot of people don't realize, but that's the impedance that is put into the ground, and it has nothing to do with decibels, because you're talking between 7 and 14 ground impedance will wake up a dog, a baby, and yourself from a sleep and not pass 30 decibels. So anything like a railroad, any tracked vehicles, heavy trucks, that's why trucks are not allowed. You don't like to have big trucks in single-family residential. Some towns and zones have restrictions of any tracked vehicle not working before 7, because even though the equipment is running like 50 decibels, the impedance that's put into the ground, which will travel many hundreds of feet, is enough to create a disturbance, awaken people up. Groundwater quality, obviously that's a big issue. Everybody has an impact on groundwater quality, and of course on our environmentally sensitive zone and any construction near the river. Everybody's worried about impact of what a big company would do, but you have 150 homes up in the hills that could have the same impact collectively as one big commercial venture down in the impact zone. And safety. A lot of our house ordinance are designed for safety. So we have a lot of things in our parking, driveway dimensions and stuff addressing. So those 6 items are what actually we're trying to mitigate through our zoning ordinance. But I believe a lot of people don't recognize it. And so when they come through the process of applying to use their land, they have the feeling that someone is telling them they can't do something, rather than saying, yes, you may, but you need to do it in this manner, which has helped to mitigate the issues of other people. So I think, as I've sat through a lot of meetings and listened to a lot of people and realized that we have gone so many years with a lot of laws, rules, regulations, codes, and standards, but nobody's sat back to read chapter 1, which is the intent, purpose of all those laws, rules, regulations, codes, and standards, and put it in terms of the average citizen who are not trained, licensed, and qualified in a lot of this process. So I'd just like to see, I was on the original planning board with the original master plan committee, and it seems like every new 5-10 year system update gets very nicely done. A lot of work on behind the scenes, best kept secret, printed, put on a shelf until the next time. And we don't seem to be moving forward on things that we as a community have indicated we'd like to see happen as part of our development through the master plan process. And we're still looking at the 1995 master plan and Green Street project, which we still haven't completed some major items. And I mean, there's a lot of years gone by, and a lot of board members have worked on it. It gets in print, but it's not connected to the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Frank.
Is the state exempt from town ordinances?
state, university, federal, and village districts are all exempt.
Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I guess that's my cue. So moved. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.